Welcome back to my Final Fantasy XIV drama series. Today's drama story is about the data miner. If you enjoy these kinds of videos, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. I wanted to feature this because it is a whole new world. I never thought I would get a freaking story about a data miner of Final Fantasy XIV. I'm not trying to promote this or anything. I just want to showcase that this is his learning experience. He's kind of like a reformed person. So yeah, I'll read you a story, and it's also very technical too. So I might sound like I'm talking gibberish. It's like with all these technical terms. Okay, the data miner. This story is about being on the wrong side of Square Enix and the life of being a data miner for Final Fantasy XIV. Small note, there are instances where I will say we, as I used to work as a team in the early days. Then I became the sole developer as the other team's members left to focus on a game called WildStar. I guess we know how that went, upside down smiley face. He's really calling out his other teammates here about how that game probably didn't do so well. Otherwise, we would have heard about it. This story starts in 2013 when Square Enix released the beta test schedule for Final Fantasy XIV 2.0. Oh, so this is really early. Oh my goodness. This was a super exciting time. I had developed a few Final Fantasy XIV websites, and the main one I was running at the time was called FFXIV DB. Does anybody in chat remember FFXIV DB? Does it stand for 14 database? All right. I built this website with two other guys. One was a back-end developer who was really good with databases, and one was a Python developer who wrote data mining scripts. The website was very similar to Wowhead, and it would let you search for items, quests, dungeons, monsters, NPCs. Just about everything was available. You could see links between various content, such as what dungeon an item came from, how much it's sold for, or the tombstone requirements. Oh, pretty cool site. The beta tests started, and I managed to get invited. Immediately, we started work on extracting game data. At the time, there wasn't a whole lot available, as only a few zones were accessible, and it was all low-level content, and we managed to figure out the game structure and retrieve the game files, so we were ready for the launch. A month before the launch date, Square Enix released the Final Fantasy XIV benchmark tool. This allowed you to test your computer's ability to run the game through pre-scripted cutscenes that put strain on your graphics card. The benchmark is updated for every expansion, even today, so hopefully it's familiar to everyone. Out of curiosity, we noticed the benchmark contained the DAT file. So that's data file with info about the program that created it. It contained the DAT file that we were extracting from during the beta. We tested our data mining scripts, and to our surprise, the entire 2.0 game data was there. All of it. Square Enix had accidentally left the launch files in the benchmark. We decided the best thing to do was put all the data on our website so it was available online. Oh my god. Reddit must have had a field day. So it was all available online for everyone. Summoner skills, binding coil, relics, everything. It went viral on Reddit as people passed around links to all of this unreleased content. There was a lot of chatter about what the game would be like, and we all know Square Enix loves a good spoiler leak. I don't know about that. Like, I never knew if companies really liked it, whether their stuff is leaked or not, because like there is hype, I get that, but I don't know. It's hard to know really whether they. I don't think they really like it, but it happens kind of thing, you know? Like, oh shit. The next day, I received an email. It says, unauthorized use of Final Fantasy intellectual property. You are clearly infringing on the trademarks and copyrights related to Final Fantasy XIV without permission. We demand that you immediately cease and desist all usage to the Final Fantasy XIV content in all forms. We look forward to your prompt attention to this matter. NA Legal at Square Enix. I got myself a cease and desist. In hindsight, it was to be expected, but at the time, the ability to share this data was all too exciting. We removed all the game data that was in the benchmark and reverted the site back to the open beta state. Square Enix fixed the benchmark the following week. After profusely apologizing to my agent network. So he mentions agent network. So I think it's like a web development agency that he used to help build his websites. So after profusely apologizing to my agent network and to Square Enix, I was informed that the data cannot go live until it is in-game or on the official Lodestone website. So we waited until launch and released the same time the Lodestone updated. The site continued to be a very useful tool. However, due to friction with the network, so I guess the agent network was upset that he could cause legal trouble. So due to the friction with the network, I decided to leave, and after months of them being unable to figure out the Final Fantasy XIV game structure, the site became dead and eventually closed. I am quite sad about this, as it could have been a good resource. Fortunately, Final Fantasy XIV has lots of websites now, so it's no major loss. After that, I moved on to working with community developers and opened up a site called FFXIV API. This provided all game data as a web request and allowed people to make websites, tools, Discord bots, etc. without having to understand the game structure and data mine everything themselves. So actually, when this guy approached me on Discord, he didn't come to me anonymously. I saw his Discord account and it had all his socials attached. And I went to his Twitter, and because of this FFXIV API, which he made, I did notice that the person who was behind Sir Amric bot said thank you to him, to the OP, for making FFXIV API. So I was like, oh damn, this is legit. That service became quite popular and is still in use today. This is when something new arrived that sparked my interest. In 2018, Square Enix released a mobile app called Companion App, which allowed you to do various things such as view your character, schedule events, and mostly importantly, buy and sell from the market board. This app was released on iOS and Android. Android apps are not protected, and their APK files... What are APK files? The APK files can be downloaded and simply renamed to zip files. Then you can extract everything inside them. So, of course, I did just that. I found all their authentication endpoints, security that allows only authorized devices to connect, their public key files, and their app files, username and passwords in plain text. Quite interesting. Android apps are compiled into a file called a DEX, and you can decode these files using various tools such as dex2jar that will convert the DEX file into a Java file, which you can then open in any editing software to view the code. So again, of course, I did just that. This allowed me to see all the API URLs that the mobile app performs to interact with the in-game market boards. I was also able to see how the requests were built and sent to the market board, including browser info, mobile device info, and importantly, how the SE account user ID was hashed. I did some test requests, but unfortunately kept getting an error from their server. So the next step was to monitor the traffic on my mobile. Luckily, this is as easy as plugging into my PC, loading up a program called Fiddler 4, accepting a root certificate, which verifies the owner, enabling security decoding, and clicking go. Now, I could see everything the app does, the requests, the responses, and the exact structure included. With a few fixes, I could now retrieve item prices and item history from the market boards. Are you guys following this? This is so technical. This is coder language. So naturally, I wrote up full documentation on how Square Enix's private API works, how to access it, then release it to the public on GitHub. I thought maybe I should stop now, but things were getting started. At the time, the game had around 12,000 items on the market board. There were 64 servers. You needed the price and history, and you had to send a request twice for each one. After some quick math, this was around 3 million requests to get everything. Even if you made a request every second, that would take 34 days for all items. I wanted something a bit more real time, or around the 10 to 20 minute mark. So nothing a quick DDoS can't fix. I made 2 accounts, as you can only have 40 characters on one account. So I created a character on every server except Balmung because it's impossible to create one there. I wrote a script to log in to each character. A login session lasted 20 hours. I just fired up 64 scripts simultaneously to go through each item and requested the price and history for each one. With a bit of packet manipulation, impersonating the other users in this case, I could bypass any restrictions, which allowed me to send multiple item requests at the same time, which is something the app normally doesn't allow. Then, Square Enix posted on the lodestone, network technical difficulties caused by DDoS attacks. Whoops. I sent them an email explaining the exploit in their market API, as well as a link to their Wikipedia page titled Rate Limiting. It was not my intention to DDoS. Wait, what? I thought it was his intention to DDoS because he wrote earlier in the story. Nothing a quick DDoS can't fix. I was under the impression the market data the mobile had access to was not the same source you see in-game. Otherwise, it's very odd they would make such an easily accessible API be able to cause issues for the game. But I digress. I stopped my activity when I knew they were having issues. I worked on a better system for fetching market data, and 2 weeks later, I saw they had implemented a fix to their API. Hooray! Square Enix devs. Again, I thought maybe I should stop now. I don't want another cease and desist. So anyway, I made a website and put all the data live in real time for everyone to use. Then added access to the Square Enix API through my own server so that the Final Fantasy XIV community could get market data for their websites and Discord bots. It was quite a success. On the first day, I reached 7,000 API calls, then 14,000, then 93,000 concurrently. Then a few days later, 49 million requests, then over 75 million. Then Google Analytics suspended me. I implemented a queue system that would automatically update prices / history on my own servers and provide the community a cached result of the prices. After categorizing items into sells a lot and doesn't sell a lot, I could speed up the important items to ensure the data was fresh. Then on the 6th of March 2019, everything stopped working. I log in to the account on MogStation and see the expected, this service account is currently suspended. The emails sent stated I was cheating, botting, data mining, and prohibited uses, which is all true, he was. Maybe I should have given up now. Or what if I buy multiple accounts and spread the load? I bought 30 accounts and ditched the Japan servers. I hit the purchasing limit on Square Enix store, so I bought off Steam and Amazon. I got everything up and running again using 1 character per server. I added some advanced anti-ban measures such as naming my characters, Don't ban, please. I started tracking error rates on the market API to reduce the amount of spam. I hit 100 million requests on my API and got suspended by Google Analytics again. I further categorized items into 16 different types so that only the most viewed and important items were the most up to date. This reduced spam to the market API by a lot. I implemented a Discord bot that could alert users if an item dipped to a specific price or when their own items had sold. I became a bit of a sellout and sold that feature for $10 a month. Over 200 plus people bought into it. Everything was good. March, April, May, June, July, and finally August. All my accounts stopped working. I checked the MOG station. All 30 accounts banned. It took a lot of effort to get the previous 30 accounts set up, from having to wait for servers to accept new characters, to purchasing limits on SC, Steam, Amazon, to anti-bot protection on MOG Station, where if you create too many accounts, it throws out errors for 24 hours. It took about 2 weeks to get things restored, and I did not want to go through that stress again. For the users that paid, I had separate accounts which allowed them real-time access, and those accounts did not receive a ban. I stopped accepting new members and turned off payments on Patreon. I let that run for a few months as people had already paid and I felt bad. The community was super divided on all of this, and I received a lot of hate and a lot of bullying on my Discord for both the market and the game data API. Eventually, I decided to give it all up. I handed all my websites to an awesome Final Fantasy XIV website creator and left the Final Fantasy XIV data mining scene in the new year of 2020. The market site I originally built has now become what is known as Universalist and gets market data in a different way. It may not be real time, but it doesn't have the risks of being shut down. I learned a lot over the years. Everything I worked on or contributed to is public on GitHub. The data mining environment can be a cryptic and secretive place, which is not my style, and sometimes it can become quite toxic. I know a lot of people will say I got what I deserved and that I did violate the TOS. A vast majority of the community use parsers, the Final Fantasy XIV launcher, Dalamud, wikis, etc., all of which risk violating the TOS to provide awesome features. I do not regret trying. The end. That was a lot. That was a mouthful. Data miner basically stopped data mining, and it seemed like a whole adventure on his end. I'm sure like he was part of those like groups of people who were also data mining and like also making websites, and maybe there was like a little bit of a competition between them, you know, like who's gonna make the first website that's gonna have all of these things that are all Final Fantasy and all the items on it. He even made money because people like subscribed to that feature that he offered for a bit, until of course his accounts all got banned, which is definitely something like if you do those things, like, you know, you're gonna get caught and you're gonna get banned. So, and what a hassle, like, because it just seems so much, you put in so much work behind it, but then like obviously they're just gonna go ban you, as they should. Makes sense. Yeah. Okay, Josh, you a baddie. Wait, you looked him up? Oh wait, oh there he is. Josh, yeah, Josh is he's in my chat. The OP is in my chat right now. That was my story. Thank you for reading. Yeah, like I said, he is not anonymous. He is up there. The man with the cease and desist, like in the flesh. Like, you were part of like an inner circle of people that were all creating Discord bots, websites. I think there was probably drama within that also, but this was his story and what he did, basically. The early years of Final Fantasy, beta, the benchmark, and Universalist exists now because of you. So I use Universalist. Don't know about you guys, but I use Universalist a lot. Yeah, wait. Josh, why did you write, I did not mean to DDoS? But then earlier you're like, nothing a DDoS can't fix. I was like, wait, this contradicts this story. Yeah, it was so technical. I thought about it. I was like, yeah, let's just keep it this way. Because so then you guys know, like, okay, this is a legit story. If this was on Twitch chat, do you know what emote would be spamming right now? The hacker man's. There's like this Pepe hacker man's emote. That was pretty interesting, their motivations. Yeah, I guess the motivation behind it is being one of the first, making money off of it, of course. And then, yeah, you just get caught and all that work is gone. You can imagine the movie like, all right, I got into the system. Oh my god, the benchmark actually has all the files of the whole game. Nice. Let's keep going. Like that's like the story. Patra's movie voice. Let me know in the comments below what you thought about this Final Fantasy XIV drama story. If you have any of your own drama stories that you'd like me to share and read out anonymously, feel free to reach out to my Discord, discord.gg/Patra. And a big thank you to my kind members who support my YouTube content.